The Dearborn Independent, December 31st, 1927, Volume 28, Number 11. Mr. Ford's page of the Dearborn Independent, The Advance of the World. We're living in a great time. We are a bridge generation. Upon our backs, upon our labor, upon our steadfastness to principle, the generations are passing over from a less good to a better time. The complaints that we hear concerning the slowness of it all are mostly from people who would rather be the crossing throng than the bridge that carries them across. But that is not within our choice. We must do the job that destiny has given us, for if we fail, the next generation will not get across to a better footing. We may go forward confidently in the fullest faith that what we thus build, those who come after will find most fitted for their use. Reviews and forecasts are equally futile unless there is a principle to be guided by in making them, or a principle to be discovered by making them. A year is but a block of days and weeks and months marked principally by 4 seasons, the same now as for ages, ever to remain the same in its basic rhythm. And thus there is nothing to mark this year from last or from next, unless it is a change or advance in human progress or principle. The natural year is, of course, a factor in man's action and his growth. If day were constant and never fell on night, if seed time, cultivation, and harvest did not draw man out by their several compulsions, if seasons did not change, now driving him afield, now driving him to shelter, if time were challengeless, endless, man would be deprived of that outer pressure which is his first stimulus to action and the contrivance of means to ends. The natural year has that use. Even the changes of the weather, heat and cold, flood and drought, have that use. But these remain. The only gain is in the human result. It would probably be agreed that one of the greatest gains of the civilized world in the last 10 years is a realization of its basic ignorance in so apparently simple a matter as living together. It is not so long ago that the wise men of the world were congratulating themselves that they had at last struck the cosmic gate, that they were building a structure that would resist all changes, that they had found the secret of progress. When they awoke, the whole business was in ruins about them. Yet it was not the war, but the impossibility of restoring conditions to what they were before the war that gave men the first inkling of the lesson they were to learn. They would have accepted the war as an accident, as a mistake, as a casual aggression had they not been made to see that the war was but a symptom of a deeper malady. The outworking of a principle that was profounder than anything of political or governmental nature. They learned this by failure to restore the conditions that caused the war. The old tricks failed. The old wisdom proved foolishness. The old motives were ineffective. The old enthusiasm lacked power. Nothing of the old seemed to remain except the old counsels, which had been labeled impractical. They stood. The impractical things were seen to be the things that had survived. If losing a false wisdom and finding a new beginning of flirting as progress, then we may say that the world has progressed. Its cocksureness is gone. Its old principles are disapproved by experience. It sits amid the wreck of all its fallacies. And no time is more full of hope than the time that knows the wreck of falsities that marks a stage in advance. Not that all the falsities have fallen as yet. Progress is not so clean-cut as to admit of that. Everything false does not fail at a given moment, and everything less false arrive. On the whole, however, the corner of progress has been turned. A great distrust of the old method of selfishness has been sown, broadcast through the world, and a greater trust that somewhere the basic principle exists is regnant. That marks a phase of progress that will be felt in every field, for what transpires in mind soon makes its influence felt in matter. The note of impatience has heard, would that this change could move more swiftly, and yet more swift it has been. Measure the past 20 years against the last 3 centuries. Have we been moving swiftly? Surface and bowels of the earth, depth of the air, time and motion and power, chemical mysteries, secrets hidden from the ages. These are the conquests of the past 2 decades. Where once it took centuries to disseminate an idea, it is planted now in days. Communication is instantaneous. The world thinks simultaneously. So the fact is, we're moving swiftly, much more so than we realized. And the new era is coming to pass much more actually than we see. It is as yet so much confused with the passing debris of the old that sometimes the impression is one of chaos. Nevertheless, the new order is pressing up through the confusion to take its place, even to force its place, whether the old has been sufficiently forced out. Economically, the new year will be a good year, but all years should be that. It is but the natural result of honest life. All the years would have been prosperous had men realized, as they are beginning now to realize, that the laws of life cannot be broken.